Are we? TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. Are we all good, guys? Yeah, there we go. It is Tuesday, the 8th of April. The sun is still shining. Everything's hunky-dory. The cockapoo is still cockapooing. Hello, Blas. You okay? What are you doing down there? Have you got your pigs here? Hey? You'll come and say hello in a bit, won't you? Yeah, how are we all? Are we all good? I've been up early this morning. I've done my gym. We've done the gym bit. That's already been ticked off. Big tick. So gym's done nice and early this morning. Just been making beef stew. That's why I'm a little bit late. I've got a beef stew. That's ready to go in the oven. I've got to finish it off, actually. I was trying to get it done before doing the live. I haven't done. Beef stew will be ready to go in the oven. I know the weather's ace at the moment, but just fancying a bit of stodge. We've got beef stew, mash, mushy peas tonight for tea. That is going to go down an absolute treat. Making the most. It is. Our eating does change with seasons, doesn't it? Right? Our eating, it does change with the seasons. You know, when it gets to summer, we are all a little bit like, oh, I want more barbecue stuff or salads or something like that. To be honest with you, I can eat a good bit of stodge any time of the year. It doesn't matter. But the sun's lovely at the moment, but it's still a bit fresh. So while it's still a bit fresh, yeah, I'm making the most of still getting a few winter warmers in, as it were. So anyway, that is tea tonight. We're on beef stew tonight. Lunch today. Do you know what? I've not got a lunch planned actually today. I'm going to go to Tesco's this morning because there's a few new foods out that I want to go and grab and try. I've still got them ostrich steaks that I bought weeks ago. The date on them is today. So, and don't get me wrong, the like vacuum pack, they'll be fine probably for about another 2 months. But I might try them today. I might try the old ostrich steaks. They might be on today. A little bit of rice, a few veggies. I don't know how to have them. So I might try those. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Right, let's do the top 5 on TikTok. Let's see who's in this morning. Number 1 is Paula. Number 2 is Kelly C. Lauren's in at number 3. Kirsty's in at number 4. And Lise is in at number 5. Good morning, guys. Thank you for jumping straight on board and coming and saying hello. Let's scan up and see what's going on. Mama Bear's in. Good morning. Carol, morning. Amy, hey. Karen H is in. Morning. Steph GC, good morning. Cam's in. Morning, mate. Karen G. Dan Baxter. Maureen. Morning, everyone. And Audrey's in as well. And Joan. And Songbird. Good morning, guys. Thank you as always for coming on saying hello. I haven't quite planned my lunch or my breakfast. I'm going to have breakfast after this. I do like to eat after the gym, but when we're going to the gym this early, I don't want to eat too early. Because when you eat, it does kind of get your hunger hormones flaring up a little bit, starts your digestive tract off a bit more. So if I ate, we're home from the gym at 7:30. If I ate at 7:30, even if I have my great big yogurt bowl, I'm probably going to be getting peckish around about 11ish, something like that. So I'm just holding off a little bit. So straight after this live, I'll be going in. Big yogurt bowl, 9:30 this morning. That'll be going down. I've got quite a few bits and pieces to do. I'm going to go to Tesco shopping. Should be back from there around dinner time-ish. I've done lots of YouTube content already this week. So I've got a shopping vlog out today. I've got what have I got out today? I've got a shopping vlog out today. And then a recipe out tomorrow. I'm going to try and record a podcast tomorrow. New podcast. And then, a new podcast tomorrow, which will be out Thursday afternoon. And I think I'm going to do a similar podcast to what my weight loss coaching live is this week, where I'm going to talk about my favorite protein, fiber, and volume foods to help fill you up. So I'm kind of going to record that tomorrow afternoon as a little practice run. Do it as a weight loss coaching live, and then I might put it out as a podcast on Thursday afternoon. And then worth the calories this week. I'm going to do a bonus worth of calories, which I think I'll put out on Sunday, because I'm going to do an Easter one as well as a normal food one. So I've got lots of stuff coming out this week. Lots and lots of stuff coming out this week. I've been weighing daily since starting MJ, I know, but been up the last few days and it's annoying me, which is probably why you tell us not to do that. Absolutely it is. So, look, I had a client that come on, they've just signed up, and they said to me, Kimberly, she said to me last week, I'm kind of used to weighing daily. Can I still do that? And I said, look, it's all down to your mindset, right? If you've got a healthy relationship with the scales, so you don't get annoyed by the scales, which is obviously what Paul is doing here, you can weigh yourself daily. Now, whether you're on MJ or not, the natural fluctuations in our body from water weight, food weight, excess water retention is still going to happen on a day-to-day basis. So it's not a case of loss. It doesn't matter whether you're on MJ or not, right? You're still gonna see. I've been browning beef off in the kitchen. Not like, I mean, this is sexy. This is sexy talk. I've been browning the beef off for the beef stew, and that is all I can smell on me at the moment. So yeah, if you like the odor fried beef, that is where I'm at the moment. I'm gonna have to change my hoodie before I go to Tesco. Yeah. So, if you are emotionally attached to the scales, how do you know you're emotionally attached to the scales? Because it's dead easy. If you're not seeing the results that you want to see and you're getting frustrated, annoyed, disappointed, it's affecting things, you're emotionally attached to the scales. And that's why you need to leave them alone. Now, if you're not, I'm not emotionally attached to the scales. I fully understand and fully can process in my head. And it's funny because even though, we know that it's, if the scales are changing on a day-to-day, look, fat loss, if you want to look at it logically, right, at the moment, I'm in around about a 7,000 calorie deficit a week, right? I burn a lot of calories. I eat a lot of calories, but because I burn a lot, even though I eat a lot, I'm still in a big calorie deficit. If weight loss was linear, like fat loss was linear, so we just saw a drop, an even drop every single day, even in the severe calorie deficit that I'm in at the moment, the scales would only change by 0.28 pounds a day, right? So if you take one and divide it by, most of my clients are in a 1 pound calorie deficit a week, which is 500. So this is a pound of body fat. And most of my clients, I put in a deficit to lose one of these a week, about 50 plus, 50, at least 50 of these a year. That's what I aim for my clients to lose, right? Now, this is a bit, I've got like a 500ml bottle of water here. If you compare in size, that's pretty big, all right? But I'm currently losing about 2 of these a week, yeah? Now, like I say, if you're losing one of these a week and it was linear, you're going to lose a seventh of this a day. And if you take one and divide it by 7, it's 0.14. So if weight loss was linear and you weighed every day, all you'd see on day 1 is a loss of 0.14 pounds. Day 2, 0.28. Day 3, 0.42. It would take you 4 days to get past that half a pound mark and take you 7 days to get to that 1 pound mark. But scales don't just show fat loss or fat gain. They show fluctuations in the body. Now, over periods of time, weeks, months, if the scales consistently come down, you are consistently losing body fat, because the other things that change the scales, like water weight, food weight, and excess water retention, they only fluctuate the scales over very short periods of time. If I weighed myself yesterday, I would have been full of more food and excess water retention from what I did over the weekend. As I weigh myself during the week and I'm getting rehydrated and my eating patterns are returning more to normal, the excess food weight and water weight would disperse in my body, right? But it doesn't mean I'm going to see a loss every single day, So yeah, if you're emotionally attached to the scales, leave them alone, right? And that emotional attachment is, we've got to try and bypass negative emotion as much as possible until we create healthy relationships with things, where negative emotion is very limited, right? So if you're getting on the scales every day and you see a gain, right, and it's frustrating you, you've got to leave them alone, right? I think sometimes we do use the scales for justification. I've just realised this hoodie's absolutely filthy as well. So it definitely needs to come off. We do use the scales. In fact, I'm going to take it off. We do use the scales as justification to, to kind of tick the boxes in our head that what we're doing is right. I think that's what we're kind of looking for constant praise from the scales. Right. So obviously, if you're injecting Mounjaro and it's costing you quite a bit of money, right? This t-shirt still smells of. I might just have to go and have a shower. Yeah. If you're, you look at Mounjaro, it's costing you a lot of money. You might have some side effects from it, and because of that, you're like, well, I want to know that the money I'm spending and the side effects I'm going through are justified by constantly seeing great results, and it won't work like that. It really won't work like that. So I do recommend that you just take a step back. Once you have a healthy relationship with the scales, you can weigh yourself flipping 6 times a day. For me, I couldn't give a toss. And I generally mean that, If I get on the scales this morning and I was 3 or 4 pounds heavier than Friday, I'd be like, yeah, I'm still carrying some excess water retention from the week, excess food weight, excess water retention from the weekend. If I weigh myself at 7 o'clock tonight and I'm 4 pounds heavier than 7 o'clock this morning, I'm like, well, yeah, I've been eating and drinking all day. And yes, I've been going to the toilet, but you tend to consume more food and drink, right, than you tend to pass out, unless you're storing a lot of excess water retention and you've got to a point of hydration where your body's happy to release that. So why do you weigh less in the morning? Because while you're asleep overnight, your body uses things, right? Your body is taking food out of your system. It's using that to repair and grow and this, that, and the other. And, you probably go to the toilet. You might go to the toilet before you go to bed. You might go to the toilet first thing in the morning. Again, that's removing waste out of the body, and that will all reflect on the scales, So, yeah, leave the scales alone if you have an unhealthy relationship with them. If you have a healthy relationship with them, weigh as much as you want to. That is absolutely fine. Donna, good morning. If I save up calories through the week, can I use them to eat a bit bad at the weekend? 100%, and I totally recommend it. And I like, I don't like using negative terminology around food. So, if I eat a bit bad at the weekend, if you want to eat more, what we would class as unhealthy. Look, there are no unhealthy foods, right? There genuinely aren't, right? There are more nutrient dense foods and less nutrient dense foods. There are more calorie dense foods and less calorie dense foods. But, someone might go, a double cheeseburger from McDonald's is an unhealthy food. No, it's not. It's quite calorie dense and it's less nutrient dense than having a grilled chicken salad, right? But if you eat one double cheeseburger a week in an overall very healthy diet, you're not unhealthy, right? It's not that cut and short. So I know but yeah, stop labeling foods good and bad. It's a bit like creating a healthy relationship with the scales. We need to create a healthy relationship with food. And if you're seeing food as that's good and that's bad, even though eating bad food, it's the same as sinning food, right? It's one of the big issues with Slimming World. When you sin food, you feel like even though it might fit in with your sins, even though, you've been really on it, when you eat foods that you have to sin, even if it fits in with your sins, you still feel like you're doing something wrong. Now, sometimes it's all right feeling like, because sometimes it's a little bit naughty, but, sometimes it's good to be a bit naughty, right? But we should see it more as, if I bank calories during the week, am I able to then spend them on foods that are maybe not, don't have the best nutrition, are quite calorie dense? Yeah, of course you can. Absolutely go for it. Look, again, if you've got a really healthy relationship with food, you can label it good and bad. You can label it a bit more naughty food or less naughty food, right? But again, we're trying to create this healthy relationship. So, it would be naive of us to think that, eating a McDonald's is going to be supportive to our health, right? It isn't. But it would also be extremely naive of us to say, well, if I have a McDonald's once a week in an overall healthy diet where I'm eating plenty of fiber, eating plenty of protein, getting lots of vitamins and minerals in, that would be detrimental to my health. It actually wouldn't, you know. And even if it would be, like, where's the trade-off? Where's the payoff? Like, you know, we're made to feel guilty by certain sections of social media that enjoying foods that are processed or ultra processed or this, that, and the other, it is like this cut and shut mentality. People are literally like, you know, if you have one bit of, you know, if you have a couple of bits of ultra processed food within a week, it massively increases the risks of cancers. It massively increases the risks of heart disease. It doesn't, right? It really doesn't, you know? And look, just like I will never ever criticize, if someone comes on social media and he's like, I fully understand you can enjoy the odd McDonald's, pizza, KFC, bits of chocolate, bits of crisps in a week and still be perfectly healthy. But for me personally, I don't want to do that. I just want to eat this clean diet. Fine. But I won't criticize you for that. If that's what you want to do and you can be really consistent with your diet doing that, no issues, right? But don't then criticize someone that wants to have a McDonald's at the weekend or wants to have a pizza at the weekend, right? Don't, you know, and it is a trade-off. If someone said to me now, right, if you eat this way 7 days a week, day in, day out, and you live this lifestyle 7 days a week, day in, day out, all your life, and it means that you will have limited health complications throughout your entire life, right? And right, you'll live to the ripe old age of 90. Age will still take its toll, but you can have limited health complications, and you know you're going to live to be 90, and so on and so forth. I'd be like, okay, or right, you can live this way. You will have limited health complications up to being 75, 80. As time takes its toll, you may have slightly more, there's no guarantee, more health complications when you get to 75, 80, right? But you'll still live to be 90. You just might, like I say, have a few more health complications. But one of them is not living the lifestyle that I enjoy overall, and one of them is living. I would always choose the one where, you know, you won't live to be 90, you'll live to be 80, 85. I would always choose that lifestyle, and I won't apologize for that, right? Because I do enjoy some more unhealthier foods from time to time. It doesn't make up the majority of my diet. It did 15 years ago, it doesn't anymore, right? You know, I enjoy going out for a couple of beers here and there. I enjoy going on holiday and sitting on the beachfront and swigging pina coladas. Again, I'm never going to apologise for that. You know, I enjoy it. You know, if I'm a little bit hungover, going and smashing in a McDonald's breakfast. I'm never going to apologise for that. You know, as long as that doesn't make up the majority of my diet, right? And I do it within my calories, and I try and stay as metabolically healthy as possible. I'm all good with that. If you don't agree with that, that's fine. You do what you want to do, you know. But for me, I just think life is always about a nice bit of balance. I really, really do. You know, I really, really do. And at the end of the day, I also look at things in a slightly different tone. I've battered my body to pieces, right? I've absolutely, from being 8, 9, 10 years of age up to being 33, 34, I've put my body through the absolute rigors. So, however I live my lifestyle now is a massive improvement for what I've done for 25 years of my life. You know, so again, I just think it's all about a little bit of balance, you know. And well, good morning, happy Tuesday to you, Stefan. Let me scan up. What do you think about fiber gummies? Are they useful to up fiber intake? Thank you. Yeah, they can. Look, at the end of the day, if you're really struggling to get fiber in, can you supplement it? Yeah. But ask yourself this, why are you struggling to get fiber in? Look, the RDA for fiber is 30 grams of fiber a day, right? Again, if you are living a lifestyle where 70% of your diet, not even up to the they reckon, the 80-20 split that I kind of follow as best as I can, if 70% of your diet, is healthy and nutritious, you're getting your whole grains in, you're getting your fruits in, you're getting your veggies in, you shouldn't need to supplement fiber. You really, really shouldn't. Now, don't get me wrong. If you've got some medical conditions where you're like, I struggle to digest this, I struggle to digest that, I struggle to consume this, then yeah, maybe a fiber supplement might, help. But that's what supplementation is. Supplementation is just a little backup for if you're not quite hitting what you need to hit. So I take these are multivitamin gummies, all right? I take 2 every single day. Do I really need them? Probably not, because I eat a lot of fruit, I eat a lot of veggies. You know, just looking at today, I'm going to be having 250 grams of berries with my breakfast. Right, I'm going to be having 100 grams of broccoli with my lunch. I'm going to be having carrots, onions, mushy peas, and probably broccoli with my tea tonight. Right, I'm going to have some sweet clems, a couple of sweet clems today. I'm going to have an apple today. Right, so my fiber intake is going to be pretty decent. So yeah, if you want to supplement your fiber intake, but we should always be looking at, you know, why am I not quite hitting? Why do I need to? Right? Because really, with fiber, it's not. It isn't as hard as people make out. And remember, yes, the RDA for fiber is 30 grams a day. You can look at that as an average, right? So some days you might hit 22, 23 grams a day. Some days you might hit 40 grams a day. Like, I don't monitor macros. I don't count them. I can't be bothered. I don't need to do it. If my main goal changes from weight loss to building some muscle, I will start tracking my protein, because it is very, very important. And you're really going to struggle to build a really good amount of protein unless a really good amount of muscle, unless you are hitting a specific, if you are experienced to training, which I've been lifting weights for 10 years now. So it's a little bit different for me, right? If you're just 6 months into your gym journey, again, the amount of protein you consume for building muscle isn't as big a necessity. But if I go into my week view, if my NutriCheck on my Mac, on my iPad works, let me just show. I've got a lot of apps open. Let me shut these down and reset. But last week, I never look, like I say, I very rarely look. It's having a bit of a panic. Let's see if it boots up. I never really look. But if you want to do it, not a problem at all. Neil, just a 19,000 steps. James, you're on it. You're going to do more steps this week than you've ever done at work, I think. I don't drink enough water. Is it 2 litres a day? Again, hydration is very subjective to each person. So I know the generic, again, RDA recommended daily amounts, or recommended daily, the RDI, the recommended daily intake is like 8 glasses a day, which I think works out at about 2 litres of water a day. But you need to drink enough fluids to get hydrated. For some people, that could be a litre and a half of water a day. For other people, it could be 10 litres of water a day. So how do we know if we are hydrated? You need to look at your pee, if I'm being honest with you. That is the best indicator of hydration. And your wee, right, it should be a very light straw colour. It shouldn't be clear. It shouldn't be like water, right? But it shouldn't be yellow, right? You kind of want a little bit of this mixed with a little bit of this. If you imagine this bottle of water with a slug of apple juice mixed in with it, like concentrate apple juice, it kind of wants to be a very light color, right? It might look, this is a lot easier for men than it is for ladies to look at. But yeah, that's kind of, I don't know why my NutriCheck's not working. Maybe it needs an update. Let me see if there's an update on here. So yeah, you need to look, it needs to be very, very light straw color. If your pee, most of the time, obviously there's certain things that can affect the color of our wee. So I don't know if anyone's ever had a Barocca, right? You have a Barocca, look at the color of your pee, the first wee that you have, first or second wee you have after having a Barocca. Yeah, it is a very, very, very very, very orange color. So there's certain things we can eat and drink that might slightly change, but overall, your wee needs to be a light straw color. If your wee is a light straw color, you are nice and hydrated. Yeah. There we go. Right, let me scan down and see. Yes, Scales, please validate me. Many thanks. It is, and I think that's the word, validation. We look for validation from the scales. So, and I think, when you're eating, I think when you're doing something that possibly isn't going to be sustainable long term, or when you're doing something that's having quite a big impact on your life for weight loss, we do look for a lot more validation. So I sort of noticed that people that are eating 1,000 calories a day, because it's so brutal and punishing on the body to eat such a lot, eating 1,000 calories a day is physically and probably more mentally exhausting. It is to constantly feel hungry, to constantly feel lethargic, to really have to be very restrictive with what you're eating is tough. So when you're doing something so tough, right, you weigh yourself every day and to sort of validate and kind of to try and give yourself that reassurance that, yes, I'm putting my body physically and mentally through torture, but if I'm dropping, 4 pounds a week, it's validating it in here for me. And like I say, I think the thing with MJ is obviously it's suppressing your appetite, so it can be physically and mentally exhausting, because if from your appetite suppression you're only consuming 1,200-1,300 calories a day, although you might not feel like eating anymore, that is going to take a physical toll on your body. It's also going to take a bit of a mental toll on your body. I think also we have a big reliance on food for comfort. And obviously, if you're not eating enough food and which we shouldn't be doing this, by the way, but if you're not eating enough food to kind of get that emotional side of things, yeah, so that can be quite tough and a big change that we're facing at the moment. And like I say, also with Mounjaro, it's costing you at least £100 a month. That is quite a big expense, right? Now you could say, well, yeah, but I've gone from eating 3,000 calories a day to eating 1,300 calories a day, so obviously it's counterbalanced a little bit. It is, but I never think we look at it quite like that. I always think you spend the money on something else. But, and like I say, if you're taking this medication and you're getting some side effects, so it could be something like constipation, which is very unpleasant. You can feel quite bloated. I had a client last week that's been on Mounjaro for a few weeks, and it was her check-in, not going to name any names. And a day or two, she said, I'm really not looking forward to check-in because I'm extremely constipated at the moment. I'm really struggling to go to the toilet. It's quite uncomfortable. Now, it just so happens she did a check-in and she did absolutely amazing. But, there will become a time where it's like, if you're constantly feeling uncomfortable on this journey, yes, getting great results on the scales, again, might validate that, but it won't validate it forever, right? It will get to a point where you're like, it's just not worth this. I'm feeling constantly bloated, struggling to go to the toilet, uncomfortable. Yes, I'm losing a good amount of weight, but it's just not worth it to me, So again, I think there's more circumstances, more scenarios with weight loss where we look for that validation more. Whereas, if you're losing weight healthily, sustainably, you're not finding it a massive chore. You're not finding that you're missing out on life too much. There's always got to be some compromise somewhere, but you're still enjoying the odd night out. You're still enjoying some of the foods you love. You're not hungry all the time. You're not tired. I don't think you quite look for that validation. I think sometimes you look going, how can I feel like, because it's new. It is really new. When, whatever methods we've tended to use to lose weight in the past, I look at some of the methods I've used over the years and brutal. Right, I've done a couple of different shake diets. Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. And when we start losing weight in a way that isn't horrible, we do question it massively. I questioned it the first 10 months or so of my weight loss journey. I didn't weigh myself because I didn't have a set of scales that would weigh me. I got my original weight from weighing at a friend's farm on his cow scales, right? And I've not weighed myself for years. And I got on these scales and I saw that weight. I was 234 kilograms when I started my weight loss journey. The scales in the doctors only went up to 200 kg. I'd not really looked. Online wasn't as it is, Amazon, eBay. Well, eBay probably was, but, I'd not really gone. I could only really find scales that weighed up to 28 stone. Now you can get scales that weigh up to 30, 40. I've got a set of scales, just a normal set of kind of bathroom salter scales that weigh up to 40 stone. You can get parcel scales that weigh more than that. Not stupid amounts of money. But yeah, I couldn't weigh myself for the first 10 months of my weight loss journey. And, I'd gone down. I knew I was losing weight because I'd gone from a 6XL in clothes to, a 4, maybe even pushing a 3XL within 10, 11 months. I was moving a lot more. I was getting a lot of compliments from people. Oh, aren't you doing well? Oh, aren't you doing well? I was getting a lot of that sort of thing. But I still didn't know what weight I was losing because I was losing weight in a way that I'd never done before. I'd gone into it with this mindset of, I don't want to over restrict myself. I need this to be sustainable. I looked at things very logically. So I was kind of like, no, I am still going to have a takeaway at least once a week. And I actually ended up having a takeaway twice a week, right? I am going to, if it's a friend's birthday, or I am going to do that. When I went on my first holiday, I literally, I ummed and ahed about what to do. And I was like, do I still look at calories? Do I, going? And I was like, no, I'm going to go and enjoy myself for 4 days. But I'm going to make this commitment to myself as soon as I get back in the UK. I'm back on my journey. And that's what I did. But it was, 10 months in was when I first weighed myself. And the doubt that was creeping into my head that I was making progress on my journey because of the way I was losing weight. I'd never done that before. And I was like, I'm looking back over the last 10 months. And I'm like, I've had at least one takeaway a week for the last 10 months, right? I've had, 3 or 4 pints of lager every Friday night for the last 10 months. I've done much better than what I used to do, but still, is that enough? But one thing I would say is, 10 months into my weight loss journey was, I felt this actually earlier, probably about 6 months in, because I knew I was losing weight. I just didn't know how much. I knew I cracked it because I literally had those self-doubts that a lot of my clients have where they're like, I don't understand how I'm losing weight. Like, I don't understand how, can you lose weight? Like, I don't feel tired. I don't feel lethargic. I don't feel like I'm missing out on life too much. Surely I'm not losing weight. I get a lot of my clients messaging me, I can't believe it. I've lost 3 pounds in the last 2 weeks. I've enjoyed a pizza with the kids. We went out for Sunday lunch and I had an apple crumble and custard and a glass of wine, and I'm like, yeah, but you've done that and that. But the other 14 days in between check-in, you've been on it. And it's about that balance. Because in my head, I know it doesn't work like this now, but when I first started my weight loss journey, I was like, this makes me fat, this makes me thin. As long as I do what makes me, I suppose it kind of does work like this in a way, but in my mindset, I was like, as long as I do what makes me thin a lot more often than what makes me fat, surely I'm making progress. And when I weighed myself October 2014, 10 months into my weight loss journey, I'd lost 100 pounds. Right? I'd lost 7 stone. Right? So I'd gone from being 37 stone to being 30 stone. And I was like, I was in shock. I was in absolute turmoil. Now, don't get me wrong. Over that 10 months, I could not have celebrated friends' birthdays. I could not have gone on holiday. I could have not had a takeaway. And I might have lost 130 pounds. I might have lost 140 pounds. I don't know. But I also know if I'd not gone and given myself the mindset of, yeah, you can go and celebrate your friend's birthday. Yeah, you can go on holiday and enjoy yourself for a few days. Just get back at it. Yes, you can have a Chinese on a Sunday night, but instead of having, ordering enough food for a family of 4 for just one person, just order enough food for one person. Main course, fried rice. That was it. That was my Chinese. All right. And again, a bit of compromise. And if I'd not done, I don't think I would have stuck to it for 10 months. I'd have stuck to it as I normally do for a diet, 3 months, and then fallen off the wagon. So I didn't look for that justification. It's amazing. I did that and had that success. Then when I finally got a set of scales, and I didn't actually invest in a set of scales until about 2016 in the house, because I didn't want to be ruled by the scales. But in 2016, when I was looking for skin removal surgery and the surgeon was like, you need to be at this, I got a lot more wrapped up in what the scales were doing then. And that's when I did start weighing myself every day. And I got into this, I created disordered eating from it. I would say from March to end of May, early June 2016, I weighed myself every day. And I got into this pattern of, if the scales went up, I was kind of, eating a really low amount of calories on that day. So it's like, oh God, I've gained weight. Right, I can't eat properly today. And then if the scales went down, I'd have a more normal eating pattern on that day. And it was mentally taxing. And it was disordered eating, because then I'd have days where, I'd weigh myself on a Saturday, I'd see maybe a 1 pound gain, and I'm like, I'm going out for tea tonight with friends. Like, I can't go out for tea with friends when I've gained a pound today. I'd still go out for tea with friends. I'd still have more calories than I would normally have, but I was feeling guilty while I was eating. I'm like, I shouldn't be doing it. All the way I'm there chatting like, yeah, we've had a great week. All there in the back of my head is, I'm eating this 1,000-calorie meal and having a pint or a bottle of beer or whatever, and I've gained a pound. I don't deserve it. I shouldn't be doing this. And the guilt, it wrapped me up, right? So yeah, that's my experience of weighing daily. And that was when I then, after 3 months, I had to just take a step back, because it was affecting me mentally a lot more than I should. And I knew I was going for skin removal surgery June, July 2016. And then I knew, again, I had an unhealthy relationship with exercise and this, that, and the other. I knew I couldn't exercise. I knew I was going to just constantly I didn't. This is my mindset. I thought, right, I'm going to be recovering for 6 weeks from an operation. I'm not going to be going to the gym. I'm not going to be doing this. I'm not going to be moving much. So I'm going to be constantly gaining weight. So I need to take a step back, because I can't see constant gains on the scales, because it's going to mess with my head too much, I've been there. I've done everything. Any of you guys, when you come to me and go, this is my thought process around this is what this is doing to me mentally, I've been there. I've done the lot. I've done the lot previous to starting this journey in 2014, and I've done the lot on this journey, But I'm glad I've done the lot. I'm glad I've made the mistakes that I've made, because then I can guide you to try and help you guys not make the same mistakes. And I'll always try and justify it. I'll never go, stop weighing daily, it's a waste of time. I'll give you my reasons behind it. And it is a psychological reason. You'll see lots of coaches that come on social media and say, weigh every day, add it all up, divide it by 7. That's your average weight for the week, and that's what we log. And we do that week in, week out. And I'm like, the theory behind that is fantastic. It works great, right? It works great because you get used to daily fluctuations, right? So you say, do you know what? Yeah, Mondays I always weigh, every Monday I weigh a bit more. it's been the last 6 weeks in a row. So I just know that happens. But I then always drop on a Tuesday, always drop on a Wednesday. I always seem to have a little bump on a Thursday. Then I'm at my lowest on a Friday. I'm pretty even on a Saturday. And depending on what I do Saturday night, I normally gain a little bit on Sunday. I stay the same or gain a little bit on Sunday. And you get used to those fluctuations. The issue is if you've never had an unhealthy relationship with the scales, you don't understand the emotional attachment a lot, especially if we've been especially if we've been trying to lose weight for years and years and years. And that's, and I look at some of these coaches, and I'm not trying to say that someone that's never had a weight issue, I do see some coaches online and they're like, I used to have a weight issue. I'm like, you didn't have a weight issue. You were a stone and a half overweight because you were probably a bit unfit and a bit unhealthy. You just didn't have the best diet. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not demonizing that person. To them, they must have thought they had a weight issue. But, I always say this, there's different levels of weight issue. Like being a stone and a half overweight and being a bit unfit and a bit unhealthy and not feeling like you've got the best physique. Yeah, all right, to you, that might be a weight issue. To someone that's been 37 stone, and I did struggle with this at the start. When, I used to get people that come to me, I'm really fat. And I'm like, that is so disrespectful to someone that has been morbidly obese with really bad disordered eating. But I have learned over the years that, someone's issue is relative to them. Again, and it might be it might be like insensitive depending on the way you talk about it. So if you've got someone that has a really good disposable income and they have a very nice house and very nice cars and go on very nice holidays, for them to then talk about, we're just struggling at the moment to pay these bills and pay those bills. If they're talking in an environment where some people are having to choose between heating and eating, that's really insensitive. But money issues are money issues. If you've lived a little bit above your means or you run quite an expensive house and you're flipping 10 grand boiler blows up and it's cost you, and you just haven't got that disposable income, you've still got a money issue, right? Just because it's not relative to someone that's choosing between it doesn't mean you've not got a money issue, but it would be insensitive to talk about it. And I always struggled a little bit with that because, knowing my backstory, I would get clients that are like, oh God, I'm just so fat at the moment. And I'm like, you do know I used to be 37 stone. You're literally like 11 stone and you think you're so like it to talk like that in front of someone that has had a severe issue is a little bit insensitive. It just in my eyes. I just think it is what it is. But I've learned to understand it more. Does that make sense? When I did Slimming World, I walked in and thought, why is there loads of skinny people there? But it's not the case. It's down to the person not being happy. Dan, you're absolutely right. That was my massive issue with Slimming World when I went. I walked into Slimming World and I'm 30, I'm morbidly obese. And there was loads of, I'm going to stereotype here because there was, out of probably 15 people in the group, I would say over 3/4 were female. I think there was me and another guy in there, and then 12 or 13 ladies, females. And I remember sitting there and I sat there for the whole meeting, and it affected me to hear, I'm literally like, I would give anything to be the weight of 90%, 100% of the people in here other than me, to really moan and complain about how they're feeling and how fat they are and this, that, and the other. I'm just like, but again, the issue's relative to the individual. Just because it's not relative to me, it was wrong of me to demonize and judge them, but it did massively affect my sort of mentality. But again, you can't really discriminate and go, right, Slimming World for 6:30 till 7 Slimming Worlds for people that's 2 stone overweight, 7 till 7:30 for people that are, or 6:30 till 7 Slimming Worlds for overweight people, 7 till 7:30 for obese people, and 7:30 till 8 is for morbidly obese people. That, to be honest with you, would be better because I think different, I've got 145, 150 active one-to-one clients. they all need different support. You know, I have got clients that are, you know, under 11 stone. I've got clients that are over 500 pounds, you know, and they do, to say that the person that's just under 11 stone has the same issues as someone that's over 500 pounds. That is just ridiculous. It's like saying, you know, someone that's, you know, if you've got two people that both earn the same amount of money and one's £1,000 in debt and one's 20 grand in debt, they've got different issues with debt, haven't they? One's got a more severe issue than the other. They're both in debt, and they're probably both like, it's probably a bit like, I want to pay my debts off, but it's kind of different. Does that kind of make sense? Lisa, good morning. Let me scan up. I know I'm waffling a lot this morning. What time are we on? Oh, we've got 10 minutes or so. And then I'm so much happier now I've lost weight. I just so depressed at my heaviest. It does. It plays a toll massively emotionally. It really does. Hi Neil, my mum had operation and has a stoma bag now. She's struggling with what to eat. Any ideas? I'll be honest with you, Angela. I wouldn't really give much advice on that. Why? Because it is a very specific medical thing. Now, obviously, if you've got a stoma, you know, there will be a certain way of eating to try and help manage your digestion and stuff like that. But yeah, that is very, very, that is very specific. So yeah, it's not some, you know, when I'm on social media, I tend to give quite a lot of generic advice out. That doesn't need to be generic advice. That would need to be a lot more direct advice. Again, it can be quite you know, obviously she should really have hopefully have had hopefully if the support's there, seen a dietitian, been given some general advice on it. But yeah, it's something that I wouldn't necessarily give direct advice on. Do you have any suggestions for someone who binges a lot? Yes. First of all, we need to decide, are you binging or overeating? I tend to find that because the word binge is very detrimental to our, like, there's certain words that we use and it makes us seem like we're being a lot worse than we are. And I think binge is one of those words. When a lot of people say they binge, I tend to find that the majority, again, this is just my experience as a coach, actually aren't binging. They just overeat a lot, right? And there is a difference. There is a difference. So, you know, are you, if you're someone now that, you know, basically you just overeat at night time, you're just someone that every night you smash the biscuits in, you smash the crisps in, right? That's generally overeating. And we can actually massively change that with the way you structure your diet overall and the way you structure your diet and calories throughout the day. So a lot of people, when they're on a weight loss journey, they over restrict themselves, right? They over restrict themselves daily, weekly, monthly. Now, over restricting yourself daily causes something called calorie chasing. This is what I've labeled it as, and this is just from my own experience, and because I've been there and I've done this, and working with other people. So basically, a lot of people, they go on a weight loss journey and I want to lose weight, and they go, I'm going to eat 1,000 calories a day, right? So they eat 1,000 calories a day, and they end up doing things like a bit of fruit for breakfast. They then have things like Ryvitas and Philadelphia for their dinner, right? So they have quite like an unbalanced diet. They don't get much protein in, they don't get much fiber in, right? They're eating a low amount of calories as well. And basically, you've got to have this sort of balance. So take me, for example. I burn 100 calories an hour, right? I burn 100 calories an hour. It doesn't matter whether I'm asleep. It doesn't matter whether I'm sat doing this live. That's my metabolism. My metabolism is 2,500 calories a day. So I burn about 103 or 105 calories an hour, right? That's your day starts at midnight, right? So what is it now? It is 9:30. So I've already burned 1,000 calories today, right? Just in my metabolism. I've also been to the gym and trained, and my active calories on my watch are 641. Now I can take 20-30% off that because they're quite optimistic. But already today, right, I've burnt with my metabolism and the movement that I've done so far, right, I've probably burnt something like 1,600 calories already today. I've eaten absolutely nothing. If I went now and had a 200 calorie breakfast, I've burned 1,600. I've eaten 200, so I'm minus 1,400. If I then go and have a 300 calorie lunch, by the time we get to lunchtime, I'll have burnt another 300 calories plus. So I'll have burnt 1,900 calories, and I've had 200 calorie breakfast, 200 calorie lunch. So I'm still at like minus 1,400. Right? If I then go all afternoon without eating anything, another 6 hours goes on, including my movement and my metabolism. By the time I get to tea time, I've eaten 500 calories and I've burned 2,500 calories. Right? I then have my tea, right? And I might have a 400 calorie tea. Now I'm minus 600 calories, right? As we get further throughout the day, we get tired, right? Our blood sugars drop a little bit as we get tired, depending on how we're eating. If we're eating a very low protein, low fiber diet, but eating quite high carb diet, that can also crash blood sugars. We get tired. As we get tired, it's a lot harder to be motivated and it's a lot harder to control things. And, you know, a lot of people, they might get to like 8, 9 o'clock at night time. They've consumed 900 calories throughout the day. They've burnt 2,300 calories, and it's too restrictive. And then the body goes, look, I need some calories here. I need some fuel here, right? And when it's 8, 9 o'clock at night time, you're not going to go, you're right, you do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cook this healthy, nutritious meal. No, you're on the couch. You're knackered, right? You want to, you're on the couch. You're knackered. You're tired. You don't want to then go and stand up in the kitchen for 15, 20 minutes. You just want to watch flipping whatever was on last night, Celebrity Big Brother or something like that. So what's the option? Well, the option is you raid the shit cupboard and you get the crisps out and the chocolate biscuits, right? And next thing, you know, when you get the crisps out and the biscuits out and this, that, and the other, you before you know it, you're 1,500 calories deep. And that's just the way you've structured your calories. But then you come on here and go, oh, I binge every night. You don't binge every night. You overeat every night because you're structuring your eating incorrectly, right? So let's stop with this 1,000 calories a day. Let's have 1,700 calories a day. So you're still in a calorie deficit, but you're in a much healthier one, right? And then instead of having 200 calories for your breakfast and 300 calories for your lunch and 400 calories for your tea, we're going to have 300 calories for your breakfast. We're going to have 500 calories for your lunch, and we're going to have 500 calories for your tea, right? And then those calories, go away. People asking me to thingy. Now you've had, when we get to the end of the day, you've burned 2,000 calories, but you've had 1,200 calories, so you've had 1,300 calories, right? And your body's not quite. And, you know, the calories you're going to eat for breakfast, we're going to prioritize protein, we're going to prioritize fiber, and we're going to get some volume in there. Same for your lunch, same for your tea. Next thing, it gets to 8, 9 o'clock at night time, and you sat there going, do you know what? I fancy a bit of something, but I don't need to raid the crisp cupboard or the biscuit. I might have a bag of crisps. I might have a bit of fruit. I just fancy a bit of something. I like it. You know, I like snacking on the couch. So I tend to find that the way we structure our eating for the majority of people can massively help with what you would call binging. It's not binging, it's overeating, right? Now, if you do have binge eating disorder, you've been diagnosed with it, or it's something like that, then that is an eating disorder, and that is a much more psychological thing, which we can get into, right? But I guarantee a lot of you guys now, if you just find that, 5 nights out of 7, I'm eating the crisps, I'm eating the chocolate, I can't stop when I start. It's not because it's because you're calorie chasing. Stop calorie chasing. Eat a healthy amount of calories just within your calorie deficit, right? Fuel the body correctly. And then at night time, you might want some crisps and chocolate, but instead of being 1,500 calories deep, you have a bag of Space Raiders and a 2-finger Kit Kat, and it's 150 calories, and that just takes the edge off because you do like some crisps and chocolate at night time. Yeah? Right, let me scan up. Is anyone seeing my comment? Just checking if my question is being hidden by TikTok. TikTok has started doing that a little bit. Let me scan down. I can't see. I know I'm waffling a lot, but I can't see. Sorry if this has been asked. Do you let NutriCheck track your activity so it allows you more calories? No, your calories in NutriCheck. Turn your exercise off in NutriCheck. If I've worked out your calories for you, I have included your average movement, right? So your steps and any exercise you might do, right? And that's how it should be. When you go onto an online calorie calculator, it'll ask you what your movement is. So you don't include your movement in your online calorie calculator, so it adds those calories on, and then you're going to add even more calories on. No, and it just gets confusing. And adding calories on and eating them back, again, I've done this. I used to do this when I first started with MyFitnessPal. I used to, actually wouldn't have been when I first got. It might have been actually when I first started MyFitnessPal because it'd register it. But when you could link like your Apple Watch to it, I used to do that. And then I was like, oh, I've got this and I've got that and I've got this amount of calories to go out. Now, A, these things are really optimistic. So they say you burn way more calories than you actually do. And B, what you end up doing there is days where you move a lot, you end up eating more. And days where you don't move a lot, you eat less. But you end up creating this unhealthy relationship where you get into this mindset. I've been there, I've done that, where I could only have higher calorie days on days where I exercise. So that can A, give you an unhealthy relationship with exercise because you're like, right, I've got an all day. I used to do this all the time. Right, got an all day wedding, or I'm going out for drinks and food tonight with some friends. I have to go to the gym for 2 hours to earn my tea. You're not a hamster in a wheel trying to entertain you so you get a bowl of nibbles at the end of it, right? It shouldn't work like that. There's always going to be days where your calorie burn will be really low, but your calorie intake's high. Likewise, there's going to be days where your calorie burn's high and your calorie intake might be low, right? So no, we don't eat back exercise calories. There's a few different reasons behind it, but the calorie allowance that you have should include your average movement, so your average steps and your average exercise. If the odd week, if your average steps are 8,000 steps a day, right, and you go to the gym twice a week, that's what your calories should be based on. If this week you end up averaging 10,000 steps a day and you go to the gym 3 times, that is just a bonus. You don't need to eat any more fuel than that. You're probably just going to be in a slightly bigger calorie deficit than we've set you up. Likewise, if next week your average steps for whatever reason drops to 7,000 steps a day and you only get to the gym once, again, we don't change your calories. Oh, God, I've burnt loads less calories. You haven't, right? It's all about averages. Some weeks you'll be in a slightly bigger calorie deficit. Some weeks you'll be in a slightly smaller one. It's about what you do over time. Now, if your movement permanently changes, and I would say, you want to be looking at 2 to 3 months of consistency, right? So if someone comes on, what I mean by that, so like let's say someone comes on my plan and they're averaging 7,000 steps a day and they're doing 0 exercise. If after 3 months I've noticed this trend where by filling out their progress sheet and putting up all their bits and pieces in, they're doing 10,000 steps a day now and going to the gym 3 times a week, and they've been consistent in that for 8 weeks, right? And I've seen while they've increased their movement, they've stuck to the same calories I've given them, which has increased their results on their progress sheet. I'll be like, right, you're losing more than £1 a week on average at the moment because you're moving more. How are you feeling? Are you feeling overly restricted? Do you feel like you need a few more calories? Because you have now, because you've increased your movement, you have got the freedom to have some more calories, and we will increase your calorie burn. If your movement changes for a short period of time, up or down, we don't change it. So, I do get people that mess you, oh, twisted my, I've been out on a run this morning and I've gone over on my ankle. I've got to rest it for 2 weeks. The steps and exercise are going to be down. Fine, right? All you're going to have to accept is carry on with you don't mess around with your calories just for 2 weeks, right? It takes a long time to learn calorie. Are you coming up? Come on. Good girl. Here she is. She's got, have you seen a little coat? It says rough life on it. She's had a little operation. And yeah, you're very cute though, and you're feeling much more yourself, aren't you? You've just been asleep. You just big yawn. You've just had a big bow, haven't you? Yeah. So, if your movement changes for 2 weeks, you just need to accept for a couple. The hardest part of a weight loss journey is learning to control our calorie intake. So to start messing about with it for what is a relatively very short period of time, where are you going? There's just no need. There's just no need to mess about with it. So if you twist your ankle, or whatever, and your steps and exercise are going to be a bit low for 2 weeks, you just need to accept you're going to be in a slightly smaller calorie deficit, right? Even I get clients that have broke the leg. Like, I've broke my leg, Neil. I'm on crutches for 8 weeks. What do I do with my calories? We don't change them, right? Because A, you need food to fuel the body and repair, right? And B, if you're walking around on crutches, that's a lot harder than walking around fully able. So again, there'll be a bit of a counterbalance in there, right? You're going down or what? I've got to put you down because you're not allowed to jump down. Right, you're not really allowed to jump up, but it's very hard to stop you, isn't it? Yeah, I know. Right, I'm coming off now. All right, I'm coming off now. Okay. She is a needy bean when she wakes up. Right. So yeah, don't ask your right. Go on down, gentle, good girl. Don't ask. Don't add your exercise calories back. Absolutely not. Right, let me scan up, see if I've missed anything. Yes, calories don't count in NutriCheck. What do you mean by that, Stefan? Yeah, Christina, I can't see you. I can't see your question, and I don't know why. I'm going to scan down a bit more, and then I'm going. I'm bordering 10 stone, but I've been 28 stone, and I'm far more stressed about this last half a stone. I think we'll always chase numbers on a weight loss journey. And that's why your goal weight, right, should be healthy, realistic, achievable, right? And, if you've come from 28 stone, if you've come from 28 stone, I don't care how tall you are, and you get down to 12 stone, you should be I'm happy where I'm at, right? We're not chasing current unhealthy numbers on the scales. I think a lot of us, we put down sometimes if we're not 100% happy in life, right? And this can be a very hard pill to kind of swallow in a way. Sometimes if we're not 100% happy in life, because our weight has been our biggest issue for a long period of time, for long periods of time, we automatically put down some slight, could be slight unhappiness, could be very unhappiness. We just automatically put it down to our weight. And really, if you've ever been 28 stone and you're currently 12 stone, your weight isn't making you unhappy anymore. But we think it is. And this is where a lot of people chase numbers and they go, right, I want to be 10 stone. They get to 10 stone, they still feel a bit unhappy. Oh, well, maybe it's because I need to be 9.5 stone. They get to 9.5 stone and like, still a bit unhappy. It must be 9 stone that's my happy weight. They get to 9 stone and they're still not feeling 100%. There's still something going on in here that's not right. The thing we have to answer is it your weight or is it you using your weight you think it is because it has been your issue for so long that it could be something else, right? I think that is a big question that a lot of people need to ask themselves, because this is where people end up going too far. Next thing, they end up with very disordered eating into an ED that can be quite severe, right? I'm not saying, Karen, that's the issue here, but I have seen this a lot as my time as a coach, where people chasing the number because they think it's a specific number on the scales that's going to make them happy, when it's actually maybe something else that they need to tackle in life that's going to make them happy. Yeah, I know that's a little bit serious, and sometimes we need to, see, it can be a little bit serious, But anyway, Christina, I can't see any of your. I'm seeing you asking, can you see my question? But I can't see your question. But obviously, Christina, you're on my one-to-one. I'm going to add you to my WhatsApp today. Any questions, you can just directly WhatsApp me if it's not coming through on the TikTok. I have no idea why TikTok filters. They do filter a lot of comments out. I always get that. TikTok is automatically filtering comments out. So I don't know why. I mean, I used to have calories burned on NutriCheck. Oh, right, and then turn it off. Yeah. So your NutriCheck, just have if I've calculated the calories on your NutriCheck, you just put the calories in that I've given you. Right. I'm out of here. That's me. I'm done. I'm not on it today for the rest of today. I've got Diva Di coming round for a tea tonight, so I'm not on. It's the week where we only have one weight loss coaching live. I will be back tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. on Zoom. That is just for people in my community. So if you're on the one-to-one plan or just subscribe to the community, get on the Zoom session tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. We'll be on for an hour. And that'll be it for tomorrow as well. Though I might try and jump on and do a bit of a impromptu live tomorrow afternoon. I'll see how my time goes. Thursday, we are on 8:30 a.m. 9:30. Oh, it might be 8:30. I don't know. It depends what time we're going to go to the gym. I have started taking Rachel to work on a Thursday. I think I've put it in as now. It's going to be 9:30 and then 11 a.m. Whatever time I'm back from the gym. Again, there might be a little impromptu live Thursday afternoon. There's no evening live on Thursdays anymore, or nighttime live. And then Friday, 11 a.m. and 4:30, like a weekend sign-off live. All right, so there's loads of lives coming up. Right, guys. Yes, I will be. I'll be back. Not today. Tomorrow morning on the Zoom, 8:30 a.m. Sign up to the community, join the one-to-one plan, and you can come and get involved in that. If not, have a lovely couple of days. If I don't see you, and I'll definitely be back 9:30 a.m. on Thursday. Oh, God, do you know what? Standard. You don't sign off to Mode Together deal. TikTok's done. YouTube, Facebook. I'll see you Thursday. Definitely 9:30 a.m.